Okay, did you catch the irony of the first videos, the first four? The very first video was shot out by our columbarium, which is a repository for ashes. And I was talking about the potential death of the church and the way it's really in decline lately. So yeah, and there was even a buzzard that flew overhead at that time and cawed, so we had to leave that in. And then the next three videos, the first two were in my home office and then my office at church. And I'm wearing a collar because I think the lessons we need to learn are from our past, but they have to be applied to our present circumstances. And so the last video was shot in the church with the door behind me, the door out, because what I believe now that in this third age of this church, this age of where we are fading into kind of benign neglect, it is our task to search for God outside our church doors. That doesn't mean we don't have church. We need church, because church is the place that tells us what it means to look for God, what God is like. We learn that through the scriptures, we learn that through the services, we learn that through our interactions with one another. But we need to take it into the world. I actually met a woman who is not involved in the church, who I think really understands what it means to take the faith into the world. After a presentation I was giving on the changing demographics in this culture at a Rotary Club meeting, I was talking about the changing demographics in relationship to the church and religion. This young woman came up to me and said, "I don't need the institutional church." I said, "Really?" She said, "No, I don't. I do everything out of my sense of faith. Everything I do has to do with my faith in God. The way that I live with my husband, the way I do my job, the way I interact with the community, the volunteer work I do, everything that I do for me is an expression of my faith. And so I don't need the institutional church anymore." That just really threw me for a loop for a little bit. But then I said, "But the institutional church needs you, because you're actually the ideal church member in this environment that we find ourselves in. You are a person who is motivated by your faith regarding everything you do. And you need to help other people live that same way. So the church needs you." Sadly, she didn't even understand what I meant by that. She says, "Well, I'm beyond that. I don't need the institutional." You don't understand. I don't need the institutional church anymore. Sad. But if we in the church help train our people through our education, through our worship, through our encouragement, to see their lives as ministry, to see their lives as an opportunity for discovering the love of God and following their faith, then we will be taking the faith into the world. Not by going out and preaching and saying you must convert or burn. No, that's not exactly the Episcopal Church's way of doing things. But by going out and demonstrating that God is the motivating factor for why we do anything. If the primary question of the third age the church finds itself in is, does God matter? The key is how we prove to others through our own behavior that God matters to us. I'm Stephen Smith for Future Church. Stay tuned.